dead because you walk on the wrong
I'm
spot.
sitting over here behind you guys, and I watch that, and Wolf just looks at me with the biggest grin, and I'm like, yeah, that was that was fun to watch. It was unexpected.
Yeah, at this moment, I always want to... We should have a feature in that if Abathur kills a hero with a toxic nest, that there's a little bit of a ghost coming up from the toxic nest. It's like Abathur doing a bit of a dance or something. That just feels like the biggest taunt ever. I mean, this is worse than B-stepping, in my opinion. It's awesome.
Certainly. Well, we see the Genji ban coming out here. L5 will likely ban the Ariel again, but this time TFC has the first pick. We'll see where they want to take this draft away from L5. Remember, sustain was a big problem for them in the extended team fights. Abathur clone with or without, they had problems dealing with the Rhaegar over the Uther. They're not going to first pick it. They're going to take the Stitches. They're taking the MVP Black approach to this, have the flexibility to try to get picks with this composition in the early game. And we'll probably see them draft into some follow-up stuns or roots.
Every single time when I see Stitches being picked this early, especially when it's Tomb of the Spider Queen, in my head it's just like Team Dignitas looking at the draft and them saying, oh my god, what have we done? What have we unleashed here? Stitches with such a high priority.
I mean, in the past we used to say full EU, but I think at this point you have to say full KR. EU's like, okay, we're too smart for this draft now, and Korea's taking it to the next level.
It usually gets banned on Europe on this map. Stitches doesn't see any more playtime. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Thank you, JPL. I feel like L5 here in the early part of their draft, they're either going to favor a Tassadar or an Uther this early on. It feels like it goes directly into their playstyle, whether it ends up being something like the Tas Vala, potentially the Tas Lunara, but also the Greymane Uther, somewhere along those lines. I feel like that is what L5 will probably be looking at. They get the Uther, but they go with Muradin in the first rotation.
Really interesting Muradin pick here. Not entirely sure what to make of this. We never see this anymore. This, I mean, is it 2015 again with this draft with the Muradin?
Just wait a second. Tirana's going to be picked any second.
Yeah, here we go.
Butcher. Anyways, so here's the thing that I think a lot of people started to develop around Stitches is that oftentimes you would go into, all right, well, I've got hooked in here, something's wrong, right? So like this right here, I feel like would almost need to be a Malfurion so you get that follow-up CC, that follow-up lockdown. You deny the Uther that can get the stun off of the hook, but you need to get some type of lockdown in the roots because Muradin has what a lot of the heroes in the current meta, whether it's an Anubarak or something like that, Anubarak and Muradin are kind of like near the top that have the mobility. If you get hooked, you just get right out of there. So I feel like you have to get some type of follow-up CC here if your team face check.
Now, one of the things that we have to, of course, talk about when we now see Muradin and Uther being picked this highly is that Tomb of the Spider Queen in the days of old was played one of two ways. Either you focus on wave clear, which is still very much the case of sometimes teams.
Stukov, by the way!
That's one way to make sure
anyway,
they
finish
can't
your
jump
story,
out.
Connor, then we'll talk about Stukov.
Okay, we talk about Stukov in a second, but either you go for wave clear or you try to dominate the 4-man rotation, and that normally happens throughout stun combos. So Muradin, this high in priority on this map, is a bit weird, and at first like raises a few questions, but they could literally just try and see if they can dominate the rotation again, win the team fights, and snowball on that part.
I worry for TFC. They have a strong draft with the Greymane Stitches. The Stukov is, you know, the question mark here. He doesn't have a lot of escapes. He doesn't have burst healing either. It takes a little while for his heals to actually come online.
But that's the thing that I want to go on Kaldor's point, is that a lot of what we would see in kind of the old macro meta was that you would 4-man rotate, you could use Muradin because he used to have Unstoppable, but you just walk over, you disrupt the enemy team, or you force a fight, you force that pick. And you're talking about bio kill switch. If you can bait that out, that's 16 seconds, which is basically a duration between lanes, and you can force the fight on somebody that doesn't have burst healing.
It's also simply the lurking arm that is going to be extremely powerful here to deny turn-ins.
It's a terrible thing.
Yeah,
it's so annoying to play.
That's quite annoying, exactly. It's absolutely horrible going up against it. And this is one of the things that they might simply try and do here. Dominate the objective, try to make sure that they can interrupt the turn-ins as much as possible. If you go into the extended range on the lurking arm, you are at a safe base, especially if you do not go up against the Stitches.
I think it's 100% going to be that build. It's the build we've been seeing most of the time on this hero. It's just the go-to, right? Especially on a map like this. And now that they've taken the Greymane away, in terms of, you know, melees you can burst with, he's the best one. And if you want to see Illidan come out here, I feel like it's risky into the Stukov. So I was going to say, the Li Ming is your best bet. Leoric is a bit of a surprise, but Li Ming is going to be so good at bursting down these heroes before the kill switch goes off. If you can bait out the cooldown, as Jehal was mentioning, you get the resets with Li Ming, you have those bursts, and you've got Leoric also. There's not a whole lot of mobility for either, or really any of the three heroes there, Stukov, Greymane, or the Stitches. If you get a good Entomb, you get that kill, you get that reset.
So there's a few things to talk about right away. First of all, when we're talking about the rotation and the kills, as you mentioned, Li Ming provides that burst damage. But also, when Stukov starts to go for the lurking arm, we oftentimes have seen his stitches against him, trying to get an easy hook. But Li Ming gets an easy combo, so there's going to be constant pressure against Stukov. It's also basically a free entomb by Leoric if he uses that. And on top of that, Leoric is the solo laner that they can utilize. And if they are taking a page out of the European meta, they can play him with Royal Focus here and just simply try to rotate when they need to push with 4-man up at the top or go for an objective.
There's multiple things I love about Leoric. Obviously, we see Leoric sometimes against Stitches because he has the highest base health pool. You get that percentage-based damage. But you start to look at this composition, and it actually just got a bit more terrifying as we see Ragnaros and Gul'dan. Stukov is a melee support. You can spec in at level 1, but that's not what you do. So now all of a sudden you have... I told you! Okay, but now you have multiple melee targets and an entomb possibility. That is a terrifying prospect.
All right, I just want to say I called it Tyrande.
I mean, this is a bit crazy. We do not see Tyrande in Korea ever. In fact, I don't think she was picked a single time in this phase, not even once. So not really common to see this pick here. Obviously, the vulnerability is going to help in taking down these heroes when Li Ming comes in to get the kills. But, I mean... I can't take this seriously with the boops on the face here, but the solo support Stukov, is it going to be enough when the burst comes in? I really have to question, and I don't think so.
I have to point a few other things out. We have a composition around Stitches that doesn't have any kind of lockdown. That surprises me more than anything. But we can talk about that in just a moment. First of all, we are starting with our second game. L5 has the lead, but to the left, it's Team Face check with Stukov, Ragnaros, Stitches. We have Greymane and Gul'dan for the damage.
And of course, their opponents up a game in the series wasn't the easy one that they might have expected going to this one. It is L5, a tough win there and a tough draft in the first game, and already curveballs thrown here with TFC. Let's not forget, there's a lot of interrupts, there's a lot of disruption here for TFC. They have the Sophia Smash, they have Lurking Arm, they have Horrify, which is going to be the choice. There's a lot of ways to catch Li Ming. If she's gone, the damage just simply isn't there.
I could literally talk for hours about what we are seeing here, but we don't have quite that much time, so let's try and condense it a little bit. The first thing I want to really highlight is that when we're looking at Team Face Check, we have a couple of tools that are fantastic to burst heroes down. Talking about bursting heroes, there's the first one. Greymane is falling victim to a tried and true combo. Murden Stormbolt into Tyrande stun. Uther tried to help out there, but he wasn't in time. Target was already dead. Third stun, not quite needed.
Yeah, and you know, this is a cool opportunity for SDE to show off his first career game of Tyrande as the ranged flex here for L5. Filling the role that Nachojin did. Big shoes to fill. We talk about these players that haven't played. Oh, hold the thought. He's going to show his skills here again. It is on to Garnet. We're going to see the fight turned.
Yeah, Swoy actually might fall victim here to the attack, but Ostigan is not able to get the kill. A good hook against Hooligan though, but that's just not enough damage yet. Still coming back to a point that I wanted to make earlier, just imagine if Stukov would be Uther on their side. You have so many tools for Team Face Check after 10 where they can try and go for a burst, with Greymane going into a Curse Bullet, Ragnaros then with a Smash. If you get a hook in and just have a stun, you can just combo both of these ult to get an early kill. But they have literally nothing on their end to guarantee these combos to be 100%.
Yeah, definitely not, as we do see the dive coming through here. A really nice Lurking Arm, but unfortunately just not the damage there. Hooligan gets away. It is going to be KT4, the next target. SDE dodges that max range hook here. But, you know, going back to what I was saying too is you get to see a new side of L5, the flexibility of SDE that we didn't see from Nachojin on these off-meta heroes, the Tyrande now that we're seeing here. It's very exciting to see this hero make a comeback, and I feel like the vulnerability of TFC is shown here. They're being perhaps a bit too aggressive. Sure, they have the silence with the Lurking Arm, but when they go in, the counter engages are much stronger. And as you can see, L5 has the much better early game comp.
Once again, another potential kill. Gul'dan goes down. And if you, ladies and gentlemen, are a bit newer to Heroes of the Storm, you might have missed the times when Murden and Tyrande was one of the most feared combos that we had in the meta. And now we are having that, trying to making a little bit of a resurgence. She's not very often picked these days, but we've seen her make an appearance at the Western Clash, now also here at the Eastern. The entire strength of this combo is that you lead with a stun on Muradin, which allows Tyrande to have an easy second follow-up stun. In this case, Uther can provide a third, and then you try and drop all the damage in the world onto that one target. With Li Ming here, back in the days, it was Jaina, a burst mage typically, and that just allows you to dominate this 4-man rotation between the mid lane and the top lane and completely snowball the game, which once again we see right here.
And it's an overextension here by Kim. Remember, Stukov, no escapes, was trying to, it looks like at least deny some of those turn-ins with 31, exactly the amount they need to turn in. It's Kim who's trying to use the lurking arm to stop these turn-ins, but these heroes are getting caught left and right. The rotational power of L5 in the early game on this map, they have the better comp for it, and this is why they chose this map. They know how to play it, and against their opponent's composition here, they're massively favored. Might lose SC here, look at the teleport over the wall, but still a big win, and they should be able to guarantee this turn-in now with 40 gems held.
Yeah, so now they can really go for the turn-in, the first Web Weaver wave going to descend. But I also want to highlight that in this composition, the 4-man and the solo lane are so important. So L5 dominating the 4-man through kills, but having Leoric now with this build, the fealty onto depth and also block at the bot lane, more or less allows him to go AFK and simply win that lane. But that was a really nice hook after we saw the Wraith Walk activated. The problem for Team FaceCheck is they didn't kill Leoric, they didn't kill Jonga here. So now we have, again, L5 pushing forward.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, there's no follow-up stun. The silence just isn't good enough because everyone still gets out, right? As you can see, the silence comes down here. L5 just casually walks away. It's still a win in the fight for L5, who has such great poke with both the Li Ming and the Tyrande here. Looking for more than just poke. KT4 locked on the outside here. Swoi gets hooked, but it's going to be the pick for L5.
Again, a kill. 6 kills to 1. Make it 7. Greymane also falling. One of the biggest problems that teams in the past had facing off against the Muradin and Tyrande composition was when they lacked a cleanse. Cleanse was the biggest tool against the composition, up to an extent where a lot of teams said, if up to level 7 we don't lose too many heroes, we have a chance fighting back against it. But just look at what we're seeing here. We are pre-level 7 on the side of Team FaceCheck. They do not have the cleanse, and we have 8 kills against 1 already, and more than a level lead.
I mean, we talk about the shot calling problems too for L5 with not having a dedicated shot caller. This kind of simplifies the problem. Stukov, Stukov, Stukov's dead. So everybody click on Stukov. I got the stuns, we got the follow-up stuns, we got the burst damage, and Team FaceCheck was like, all right, we gotta get out of here. We lost our healer. We also don't have any way to punish this rotation. And this game is very rapidly being taken away from them. As you can see, Gul'dan having 6k more damage than Li Ming, but you have the extra sustain even coming out from the Tyrande, and you just have this composition that can't get the kills. Sure, he's doing a lot of poke damage with this fell, but he's not actually getting the takedowns, which is what matters most.
Talking takedowns once again, just look at this. Stukov again, one of his big weaknesses, the lack of an escape. And yes, you can hook 6 days to Sunday, but if there's no follow-up damage, you're not going to get these kills. Talking about kills, guess what?
Oh,
Gul'dan is dead.
KT4 with a nice juke here, but it looks like this is going to nearly be the full wipe. 4 dead here, and L5 has already won this game. I mean, we could almost just start talking about post-game here. I mean, Team FaceCheck, they're down 3 levels. Level 10 is up. They are going to get the full man wipe here. Stukov will respawn. Kim is back before Virgo goes down, so I guess it's not fully an ace, but I mean, this is just dominant rotations from L5, and you have to think that this pick of the Stukov, we knew the weaknesses going in. L5 did as well, and maybe this is one reason why no Koreans are picking him up right now.
Yeah, and once again, if you have kids watching this, then try to be a responsible parent and send them out of the room, because this is difficult to watch right now. Team FaceCheck is getting hammered into the ground. 13 kills against 1, a 2.5 level lead, and L5 just snowballing with 1 turn-in after another. And talking turn-ins, Team FaceCheck hasn't turned in a single coin, nothing, not a single gem. They hold 6 because they all died.
There was a team wipe, so they lost everything. You might think it's the Stukov that has the most deaths, but it's actually Greymane at 4, Gul'dan with 3 here. The hyper-aggressive positioning we're seeing from Garnet Devil is getting punished by L5 consistently. That's why he has so much more hero damage than Li Ming, but he's always putting himself at risk while doing so. Look at this sick wall here. KT4 is trapped and blocked. Jonga is going to help secure the kill. Lurking Arm just for the disengage. But again, it's just small things, but they're never able to accomplish anything. Still only holding the 12 gems, Keldor.
Jonga was actually trying to go for the wall mod in Entomb here, the 2-for-1 value, where he tried to just body Stitches with the side of the Entomb and grab someone in the center so that he gets 2 kills out of it. Didn't quite work out, but it was still a beautiful capture on Stitches.
And now, you know, still Heroic so far away. The poke is good for L5. They're not looking to just poke down forts, they're looking to get kills. TFC needs to respect this, or they're going to get even more bodied than they already are. Lucy Hooligan does get the leap over the wall. The lurking arm on the other side of the wall, instead of where the hook would have landed, kind of some disjointment there, but I feel like TFC just needs to back off, need a turtle. Yeah. They don't want to take the damage here, but if they step over the line, they're going to lose more members, they're going to lose the game.
They have to take the beating at this point. TFC needs to wait for level 10. There is no other way for them to deal with this. So you have to take the beating until you're level 10, until you have your heroic abilities. And to be absolutely honest, right now, for them, I think the biggest thing to focus on is try to follow up on Stitch's hooks. You need to hit a few of these God hooks and then follow up with an instant kill. And it's going to be so difficult since they do not have the stun.
Where's the silence on that Dwarf Toss as well? If you have the silence there, you need to have that combo together. If you have the silence, maybe that becomes a pick. You can't Dwarf Toss over the wall, but if you don't have the silence, you just simply casually flies away. And now it's going to be another keep wall down. They still don't have 10.
I absolutely agree on the silence. You do not have a stun, but at least you have something that makes sure Leoric doesn't walk away from you, and Uth doesn't turn around with a stun, and Li Ming doesn't use a teleport, and of course, as we've just seen, Muradin is not able to simply hop out of there. So Stukov needs to be on point with Stitches when it comes to these hooks. They need a kill. Now they have 10 with a Sulfura Smash and the potential Curse Bullet. They have the opportunity to maybe get a kill, but they have a 4-level deficit at this point.
By the way, Soy's just casually not locking in any of his talents. He's like, I want to be the first Uther in this tournament to win a game without using my heroic, not even picking one. And so far, it just doesn't feel necessary. He wants to wait until he can have the moment where either the Divine Shield wins the game for them, or perhaps the Divine Storm gets a 4-man stun and they just win the game off of a wipe. So he wants to hold on to it, but it's just funny that it's just so unnecessary at this point. But finally, we have the Heroics, the Horrified, the Gorge. These are tools they can use to punish L5 when they go for these picks. But Virgil, he should not be here without vision.
And that's, of course, going to be another kill. Throws out also his ult. That's a wasted cooldown right there. That was
triple the length of his death timer.
There was absolutely no reason to use the heroic ability in that moment. The cooldown is way too high, so we will see Ragnaros back in the game and then still have to wait another 55 seconds to use the Sulfura Smash again.
L5's biggest challenge right now is collecting the gems. You know, they've been just trying to get picks where they can, but this is just their bonuses to collecting the gems. They finally have enough, 61 of 60 currently carried, to get another Webweaver turn in. They're not trying to force the issue, trying to siege, because they know that that's a risk with all the CC now with the Horrify online. But I mean, we have even the shoving arm here for Stukov. There's a lot of tools that make it maybe used to get a pick, but L5 just isn't going to allow it. When we see TFC try to rotate in and deny the turn-ins, that's when they get picked. So it just feels like they're getting grinded out of this game.
They are in a really awkward spot now. Again, they have nothing they can use against the stun combos at this point, and the only hope they have is to hit a few good hooks, get Gorge, and then drop the target, engage into a fight, and take opponents down. The biggest problem for them is it's a 4-level deficit still, and not only that, they are not only 1 talent behind. In just a second, it's going to be 2. But here comes that 1 hook and the Gorge. Can they get the kill?
Good Horrify here, but look at the Divine Shield. He locks it in immediately here for SC. Protection is real. We do see the Sulfura Smash completely whiff. Swoy is actually very low, but he will be able to heal himself up and get away. The 3-level lead, soon to be 4 levels here now. The double talent tier advantage for L5.
Once again, they're jumping in. They're trying to go for Stitches. The stuns come out. Disintegrate being used as well. And down he goes. Stitches is dead, and so is Ragnaros. The double kill on the side of L5. Make that a triple as Greymane falls.
And this is the only fight where we got to see the power of the long sustain coming out from Stukov. The power of the CCs, the hook, the Gorge. But L5, 2 talent tiers ahead. 4 levels of scaling ahead. The perfect fight that TFC was looking for still isn't enough when you're 20 kills to 1. L5 just has too much of an advantage.
They dance around the core, but they can't attack it because there's still keeps on the map. They dove past all of them. And as finally the Webweavers take the keeps out, the core, of course, is going to be rushed down here quite quickly. 5-level lead for L5.
Yeah, there you go. That's where the 5 in their L5 name is for. They got 5 L5 sprays around the core, and this is going to be game over. As mentioned, 21 kills to 1. Perhaps the most one-sided game in this tournament. And you have to think it goes back to the Stukov pick that doesn't have a reliable escape. Jayhao, your thoughts?
My thoughts are Hooligan and team. I mean, every time that I saw Hooligan's just like, well, I'm going to dwarf toss over. I'll meet you guys there in a moment. And let me just hit with the stun. He gets directly in. Tyrande like free, free, and free. And more interesting, I love the pickups from Tyrande. Level 1, she went into the Hunter's Mark. That's something we haven't seen yet. Obviously, it takes a little bit to stack up, but more vulnerability for longer. The spell armor at level 4. I mean, Tyrande, I think, was a perfect pickup there at the end.
When it comes to drafting, after seeing the game, you just have to think about what the team was saying in their voice comms. Probably at the beginning talking a bit, okay, guys, let's focus a bit on the wave play here. Make sure that we have a good solo hero at the bot lane. And then someone says, guys, what if we just kill them all?
I feel like these two games we just watched are reminders of old metas, reminders that these heroes, Abathur with the Mind build on BOE, Tyrande against, you know, when you have the Leoric as well as the Muradin, still very strong combinations you can use for stun chains and the vulnerability you were talking about with the Hunter's Mark. And even though it's not meta right now, you have to remember, just looking back at Heroes history, these combos are very strong.
I mean, one of the reasons why the stun meta fell out of fashion a bit was, of course, changes to Tyrande herself, but also because everybody got better with cleanses in general. Now that we're having more heroes coming into the game that don't have a cleanse, don't have that tool that you can use against the CC combo, it just sees that Tyrande has a little bit more value with all of those chains, and against the team that you perceive to be the weaker team, dominating that rotation between the two lanes, as we pointed out earlier, can really just give you the advantage to snowball with turn after turn. That's exactly what L5 did here.
And they had the burst damage from Li Ming as well. Stukov does well if you can use the maximum bio kill switch with this entire team. As you saw in that final fight, he got the big heals. It was the toughest fight that L5 had to take, but again, 4-level advantage, double talent tier lead, and the Divine Shield was perfect to actually protect SC there. Had things gone a little bit differently and we're 16 versus 16, the same Stitch's hook comes in, the same fight happens, maybe we see a win there for TFC, but things went wrong long before that.
So far we have a 2-0 lead for L5, a very dominant one at that, and we're of course going to head into the third game very soon, but before we do that, we're going to jump into a quick commercial break, and once we're ready, we'll be back with the next step.